Austin A40 Devon 1947. The A40 Devon, and similar two-door A40 Dorset, are automobiles that were marketed by Austin from 1947 to 1952, the first post-war saloons to be produced by Austin, featuring a mix of old and new technologies. They were previewed by the UK press at the Paris Motor Show on the 22nd of October 1947, who expressed immediate disappointment at the car's conservative appearance. More than 450,000 were built before the model's replacement in 1952 by the Austin A40 Somerset. Both the Devon and Dorset were body-on-frame designs with modern bodies and a 1.2L straight 4 OHV engine producing 40 bhp, 30 kilowatts, at 4,200 revolutions per minute. They featured front coil-sprung independent suspension but retained a rigid axle and semi-elliptic leaf springs at the rear. The Girling brakes with 9-in, 229 mm, drums were operated hydraulically at the front and mechanically at the rear. Later cars had column-operated gear change and full hydraulic braking. A sliding sunroof and heater were extra cost options on the UK market. The Devon was the four-door version and was more successful than the two-door Dorset, which was dropped in 1949 after only 15,939 were made. The Countryman estate was produced through 1956. Equipped as a six-seater, its folding rear seat enabled it to be converted into a two-seater able to carry a half-ton load. A van and pickup truck were also produced. The Devon was the first post-war designed Austin to be assembled in New Zealand. The Austin A40 Somerset was a series of cars introduced in 1952. As part of the Austin A40 family, the A40 Somerset replaced the A40 Devon. These midsize cars were built in two body styles, the most common being the four-door saloon, while a much rarer two-door convertible was also offered. The Somerset was powered by a 1.2L inline-4 engine that sent drive through a 4-speed manual transmission to the rear wheels. Production of the Austin A40 Somerset lasted until 1954, when it was replaced by the A40 Cambridge. Some examples are still on the road. There is an A40 Devon operating and registered in Hamilton as of 2019. A prototype A40 Dorset Tourer was built at Longbridge in 1948. Although it was never put into production in England, various versions of the A40 Tourer were made in Australia beginning in September 1948. A car tested by the Motor magazine in 1948 had a top speed of 70 miles per hour, 110 kilometers per hour, and could accelerate from 0 to 60 miles per hour, 97 kilometers per hour, in 37.2 seconds. A fuel consumption of 34.1 miles per imperial gallon, 8.3 L, 100 kilometers, 28.4 mpg US, was recorded. The test car, which had the optional sliding roof, cost £505 including taxes. Commentators also commended the excellent floor lever-controlled 4-speed gear change on the early models, with smooth clutch action. The brakes, however, needed fairly firm pedal pressure for maximum results. A vehicle frame, also historically known as its chassis, is the main supporting structure of a motor vehicle to which all other components are attached, comparable to the skeleton of an organism. Until the 1930s, virtually every car had a structural frame separate from its body. This construction design is known as body-on-frame. By the 1960s, unibody construction in passenger cars had become common, and the trend to unibody for passenger cars continued over the ensuing decades. Nearly all trucks, buses, and most pickups continue to use a separate frame as their chassis. The Austin A40 Somerset is a motor car which was produced by the Austin Motor Company from 1952 until 1954. The Somerset replaced the Austin A40 Devon and, as a body-on-frame car, it was comparable in size to its predecessor. It shared a number of components with the Devon, which included a similar 1.2-litre straight-4 pushrod engine. The Somerset's engine was updated to produce 42 horsepower, 31 kilowatts, compared to the Devon's 40 horsepower, 30 kilowatts, giving the car a top speed of 70 miles per hour, 110 kilometers per hour. A sports convertible version of the A40 tested by the Motor Magazine in 1953 managed a top speed of 74 miles per hour, 119 kilometers per hour, and could accelerate from 0 to 60 miles per hour, 97 kilometers per hour, in 28.6 seconds. A fuel consumption of 30.1 miles per imperial gallon, 9.4 L, 100 kilometers, 25.1 mpg US, was recorded. These figures were all obtained on the contemporary low-octane fuel. The test car cost £705 including taxes. The Austin A40 Somerset saloon's reputation for being somewhat slow and lumbering to drive is not wholly deserved. It had to endure poor quality petrol supplies in 1952, and in consequence had retarded ignition settings to tolerate the low octane rating of the fuels available to avoid the engine knocking or pinking condition that was well known in those times. In fact, British Motor Corporation later produced a kit to improve the performance and fuel consumption of these cars once premium fuel supplies resumed under the popular petrol brands. This kit comprised a replacement distributor and an optional cylinder head gasket that was thinner and therefore raised the compression slightly from the standard 7:2:1. An Autocar magazine road test published 18 April 1952 achieved a maximum of 66 miles per hour, 106 kilometers per hour, mean, and 71 miles per hour, 114 kilometers per hour, and a 0 to 60 miles per hour acceleration of 36.6 seconds, whereas the example registered new in February 1954 and given a used car test published in the Autocar series dated 8 April 1960 returned a 0 to 60 miles per hour time of 27.9 seconds. The standing quarter mile was down from 24.4 secs to 23.2 secs, a marked improvement on the former result taken in 1952 and directly comparable with the Mini 850 launched in 1959, that was considered to be fairly brisk then. Best of United Kingdom automotive productions. Thanks for watching.